If you've got yourself one of these Braaap MX450 trail bikes, then you will know that when the bike is delivered, it comes in trail bike configuration, and that is it has knobby tyres, it has an 18-inch rear wheel, I think it's a 21-inch rear front wheel. Now, Braaap provide an option for these bikes where you can convert these into a Motard, and effectively what that is you convert it from a trail bike into something you can ride on the bitumen effectively and even race these things. They do that by putting a 17-inch front and rear rim and a 17-inch front and rear tyre on these bikes, and it really converts them into something that's a ton of fun. You know, Motard racing is getting increasingly popular. Now, one of the issues with converting a bike from a dirt bike into a Motard configuration is that you're changing the size of the tyres. Now, if you look at the original tyre that comes with the bike, so on the rear it's this 18-inch knobby, and it has a rear sprocket which is a 48-tooth rear sprocket. And what they do is they convert this into not a 40-tooth rear sprocket, but they put a 46-tooth rear sprocket on this wheel, and they do that for the purpose of lowering the gearing so that you don't lose top speed. You go from a bigger tyre to a smaller tyre, if you don't change the gearing, then you're going to lose that speed. So, as I said, they go from 48-tooth to a 46-tooth. Now, we took it for a ride. We found that it had a top speed in that Motard configuration with a 46-tooth rear sprocket of around 117, 118 kilometers per hour. And that was pretty much it. I was revving the bike out. A ton of fun to ride, but I just wanted that little bit more top speed. How do you actually get that top speed? You know, well, you could increase the size of the wheels, or you could decrease the size of the rear sprocket. What we chose to do was increase the size of the front sprocket. Now, the standard front sprocket on the bike is a 13-tooth sprocket. We went from a 13-tooth to a 14-tooth, and a 14-tooth is the same thing as reducing the size of the rear sprocket by 3 teeth. What that means is, if we increase the size of the front sprocket, then it requires less rotations of the front for one full rotation of the rear. So for a given number of revolutions per minute, that increases the rear wheel speed. So you end up getting a higher speed on the motorcycle. And it was pretty easy to do. We said we've got a CRF 450 14-tooth front sprocket. We whacked it on, fitted perfectly, then we took it out and had a run with it. The bike increased its top speed by around about 7 or 8 kilometers per hour. So I'm super happy with the speed this bike actually produces with that re-gearing. Now, a couple of things about it. Number one, the sprocket itself fits perfectly. You just pull the cover off, pull the bolt out of the center, replace the sprocket, the chain slides on, and there's sufficient space where the sprocket goes for it to actually fit. You couldn't go to a 15-tooth because there's no space there, but a 14-tooth actually works quite well. The second thing is that when you increase the gearing of a motorcycle, what it can do is it spreads the distance between the gears. So what it means is it's a big jump from gear to gear. Now, that can affect bikes when you're doing down changes. So if you're down changing at a higher RPM, and it goes down to the next gear, it's such a big jump that it can actually lock up the rear end unless you have a slipper clutch, which this bike doesn't have. Now, I never found any of those types of issues at all, and nor did I find any issues around its effect on the lower revolutions or lower RPM with each of the gears. I really like the configuration and super happy with it. I'm even going to leave the 14-tooth on the front when we take the dirt bike for a ride in dirt bike configuration, and I actually think it's a winner. So get yourself a 14-tooth front sprocket, whack it on with the Motard wheels, and you're going to have a ton of fun like I did.